Imagine finding a detailed blueprint for a skyscraper. It describes the building's height, the number of windows, and the exact materials to be used. Now imagine that this blueprint was written 5 centuries before the building was even constructed. It would be an astonishing discovery defying all logical explanation. This is precisely the kind of historical and spiritual puzzle we encounter when we open the ancient scrolls of the prophet Isaiah. Specifically in the 53rd chapter we find a text so detailed, so specific, that it reads like an eyewitness account of events that would not unfold for another 500 years. This isn't just a vague prediction, it's a stunningly accurate portrait of a coming Messiah. The prophet Isaiah lived and wrote around the 8th century BC. He was a messenger for God, speaking to the nation of Israel. His writings are a cornerstone of the Old Testament, filled with warnings, promises, and prophecies. Chapter 53 stands out as a unique and powerful passage. It describes a figure known as the suffering servant. This servant would endure immense pain and rejection, not for his own wrongdoings, but for the sins of others. For centuries, scholars and theologians debated the identity of this servant. Who could possibly fit this incredible description? The text was preserved, copied, and studied, holding its secrets for generations. When we examine the historical evidence, the timeline itself is a powerful piece of the puzzle. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 provided undeniable proof that the Book of Isaiah existed in its complete form long before the time of Jesus. These scrolls, hidden away in caves near the Dead Sea, contained manuscripts of Isaiah that were dated to at least 100 years before Jesus was born. This archaeological find silenced any claims that the prophecies were written after the fact. It confirmed that the words of Isaiah 53 were truly ancient, a message sent forward in time, waiting for its fulfillment. This historical context is crucial for everyone, whether you are a person of faith or a curious skeptic. It sets the stage for an investigation into one of the most remarkable claims in human history. We are not dealing with a myth or a legend that evolved over time. We are dealing with a written document, preserved for centuries, that makes specific, testable predictions. The question then becomes, did anyone in history ever match this detailed description? The evidence points compellingly to one person, Jesus of Nazareth. The parallels are too numerous and too precise to be dismissed as mere coincidence. The prophecy in Isaiah 53 begins by describing a figure who would not have the typical appearance of a king or a celebrated hero. Isaiah 53 verse 2 says, "He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him." This immediately challenges our expectations. Jesus was not born into a royal palace in Rome or Jerusalem. He was born in a humble stable in Bethlehem, the son of a carpenter. He didn't command armies or possess great political power. His life was one of simplicity and service, which caused many of the religious leaders of his day to overlook and even despise him, just as the prophecy foretold. The text continues to paint a picture of deep sorrow and rejection. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. That's Isaiah 53 verse 3. This verse reads like a headline from the Gospels. The New Testament is filled with accounts of Jesus being challenged, mocked, and ultimately rejected by the very people he came to save. The religious authorities saw him as a threat to their power. His own disciples would abandon him in his greatest hour of need. He was a man who experienced the full weight of human grief and sorrow, making him relatable to our own struggles in a profound way. This familiarity with pain was not just emotional, it was deeply personal. The Gospels describe Jesus weeping at the tomb of his friend Lazarus, showing his deep empathy for human loss. He felt the sting of betrayal when Judas, one of his chosen 12, handed him over to his enemies for a handful of silver coins. He felt the loneliness of being abandoned by his closest friends as he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. The prophecy didn't just predict his public rejection, it accurately captured the intimate, personal suffering that would define his earthly ministry. He truly was a man of suffering. This prediction of a humble and suffering Messiah was completely countercultural. The Jewish people of that time were expecting a conquering king, a political liberator who would overthrow the Roman occupation and restore Israel to greatness. They were looking for a powerful warrior, not a gentle servant. The fact that Isaiah described a suffering figure 500 years earlier, and that Jesus fulfilled this unlikely role so perfectly, is a powerful piece of evidence. it suggests a plan far greater than any human expectation, a divine story unfolding exactly as it was written centuries before. The prophecy of Isaiah 53 becomes even more specific and chilling as it describes the servant's trial and death. Isaiah 53 verse 7 states, "He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth." This detail finds its stunning fulfillment in the New Testament accounts of Jesus' trial before Pontius Pilate and the Jewish High Council. When faced with false accusations and given the chance to defend himself, the Gospels record that Jesus remained remarkably silent, baffling the Roman governor and fulfilling the ancient prophecy to the letter. Furthermore, the prophecy details the very nature of his death. Isaiah 53 verse 5 declares, "But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities." The word pierced is incredibly specific. Crucifixion, the method of execution used on Jesus, was a Roman practice that involved piercing the hands and feet with nails. This form of capital punishment was not commonly used by the Jews in Isaiah's time. For the prophet to predict this specific action, being pierced hundreds of years before it became the method of Jesus' execution, is truly remarkable. It points to a divine author who knew the end from the beginning. The passage also predicts his burial. Isaiah 53, verse 9, says, "He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death." This seemingly contradictory statement was fulfilled with incredible precision. Jesus was crucified between two criminals, a fate with the wicked. After his death, however, a wealthy man named Joseph of Arimathea, a member of the Jewish council, bravely asked Pilate for Jesus' body. He then buried Jesus in his own new, unused tomb. Jesus was sentenced to die with criminals but was ultimately buried in the tomb of a rich man, fulfilling both clauses of this intricate prophecy. The reason for all this suffering is the central message of the chapter. It wasn't random cruelty or a tragic accident. Isaiah 53, verse 6 explains, "We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all." This is the heart of God's plan. Jesus' suffering was not for his own sins. The prophecy and the New Testament both declare his innocence. Instead, he willingly took the punishment that we deserved. He was the substitute, the perfect lamb sacrificed to make things right between humanity and a holy God. While the prophecy details immense suffering and death, it does not end there. In one of the most amazing predictions in all of literature, Isaiah foretells the servant's resurrection. After describing his death and burial, Isaiah 53 verses 10 and 11 say that he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and that after he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. How can someone who was crushed, killed, and buried go on to prolong his days and see the light of life? This points directly to a resurrection from the dead, the ultimate vindication of the suffering servant. This is the cornerstone of the Christian faith. The New Testament joyfully proclaims the fulfillment of this part of the prophecy. On the third day after his crucifixion, the Gospels record that Jesus rose from the grave. He appeared to his followers, not as a ghost, but in a physical, resurrected body. He ate with them, spoke with them, and showed them the wounds in his hands and his side. This event, the resurrection, is what gives meaning to his sacrifice. It was God's ultimate stamp of approval on Jesus' life and work, proving that he had conquered sin and death. The prophecy of seeing his offspring is fulfilled in the millions of believers throughout history whose lives have been transformed by him. This incredible story, written centuries in advance and fulfilled in verifiable history, is more than just an interesting historical fact. It is a profound declaration of God's love for every single one of us. Why would God orchestrate such an elaborate and painful plan? The answer is found in the prophecy itself, because we had all gone astray. God, in his perfect justice, could not simply ignore sin. But in his infinite love, he could not bear to be separated from us. So he provided the solution himself. He sent his son, Jesus, to live a perfect life and die the death we deserved, all according to a plan laid out long ago. This brings the evidence from the ancient scroll directly to your life today, on December 27, 2025. The fulfillment of Isaiah 53 is an open invitation from God to you. It's an invitation to investigate the evidence for yourself and to consider the implications for your own life. It asks you to reflect on this incredible love, a love that planned your rescue centuries before you were born. The suffering servant, who is now the risen king, offers forgiveness, hope, and a new beginning. The only question left is, how will you respond to such a great love?